You know when imagery just really
Oh,
gets
yeah,
to you,
yeah.
man?
Yeah, you see it too vividly.
Oh my God. Are we live? Are we going?
We're going.
Have you seen I don't know if you were on this. Well, you were on the internet in this era, but it was called the Pain Olympics.
Oh,
Ooh.
Do you remember?
I don't know anything about the Pain Olympics, but it sounds horrible.
Sounds disgusting.
Andrew, you know?
I don't know. I might have just missed this.
Okay. So it was probably later found out that the mutilation in these videos was, I don't think all of it was real,
Oh.
but it was like, I saw this when I was like 12, man. The internet was so dark back in the day.
It really was the
It
Wild
was the
West.
BME
man.
Pain Olympics. That's what it was called. And it was like video of just, you see like mutilation of this individual's
junk?
wiener and
Ooh.
multiple. And it's just like, it looks so real. And it was dark.
That's
the reason why we got on this, guys, is because Mark mentioned chopping up meat. And,
And you thought about meat.
Yeah.
Your own meat.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
It happens.
Chop it up with scissors, though. It works good.
Mm-hmm.
Not that.
Steak.
Yeah, steak.
Steak. Yeah.
Yeah.
It works great. You guys ever chop up your steak before you, like when you're putting it in the pan? That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best way. That's the way I do it.
And I know you do it for like speed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people get all upset about how you cook your food and everything, but
You lose all
the
juices.
well, you know what's great is you get to flavor each piece individually.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is.
You know what I mean? Like the center, like no matter how good somebody is, no matter how chefy somebody is, even the chef from South Park wouldn't be able to figure out how to get the salt and everything just perfectly inside the steak, you know? But when you chop it up, you get it right in there.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Because I'm a fan of the edges, you know? So, like, that's...
Edging.
Yep, edging. Yep.
Low hanging fruit.
I don't know what's going on with this show.
As I said, I'm like, don't say it that way. Nah, too late. Fuck it, it's already out.
By the way, guys,
I'm on edge.
thanks for getting us over 1,000 ratings on Apple.
Oh,
We're now
I
at
didn't-
1,000.
I didn't pay attention.
It must have been the sperm episode.
Damn it, Nsima.
If you guys haven't listened to the last part of the last episode, you should.
Delete it.
Did you guys hear the? I don't even know if I mentioned it on the show or not, but like there was a study about like I think I did tell you guys. There's a study about like men's like taints getting smaller and their junk getting smaller.
Yep.
And then this woman was on Joe Rogan talking about it. She's talking about we've had people on this show before talk about estrogens and stuff like that. And
Phthalates.
How
do you say it?
yeah, phthalates. Yeah,
Phthalates.
Yeah.
Phthalates. Yeah. Phthalates.
It's a weird word.
It's a weird one, man.
It's funny because people will either go all in on the part or the part.
Yeah.
And-
Phthalates or phthalates.
Yeah.
One thing, I need to listen to the show because I don't know, it probably has some good information in there, but in just listening to some of it and understanding like what the study is and stuff like that, it seems like I would need people to study a lot more than just that, you know, like I would imagine that if you're an unhealthy person, that the way that you deal with the different plastics that are in our food and in our water and stuff like that is probably a little different than the way someone who is healthier may deal with it, or even just genetic potentials and things like that I'm sure it would factor in. But like if you don't sleep well, you're on your phone all the time, you don't move a lot, you know, like, I mean, I think More Plates, More Dates, he did a video talking about it, and he was like, hey, you know, we still need to talk about like lifestyle stuff. So I'm interested to listen to that Rogan episode and to see if that woman particularly talked about lifestyle as well. But I know she like wrote a book on it, and so that's her like body of work, you know.
But I mean, yeah, I think like that's just a given. Like, yeah, it is dangerous, phthalates and all that stuff, plastics. But if you're also, you know, since you were a kid, if you're not getting outside much, because kids nowadays aren't outside in the sun as much, right? They're not doing as much physical activity. You know, they're growing up and their diets are mushy foods, processed foods, etc. I don't think we can just say it's the plastics. It's an additive of all of these just negative things that leads us to just not develop as well as we typically would.
Yeah, maybe because you're on your phone for 12 hours a day, maybe that is having a pretty big impact on
your taint.
on your development and on your taint. Yeah.
Yeah. And like years of bad sleep without realizing you have bad sleep, just messing
Definitely.
with all of that.
Taint development.
Hey, I think I'm not like
I don't know
What's your
how far
distance?
apart it's supposed to be, but
Apparently it's getting... I wonder what... Sorry for this silly question. I don't know if we can even answer it, but like, what's the detriment of having a taint closer to your nutsack?
I think so. That's one of the separations between male and female. Is there's less distant. They got less. They're less tainty than us.
Women do have smaller taints than men. Yeah, they do have smaller taints.
Yeah, I mean that's
less tainty.
In this climate, can we even say that nowadays?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think
I like dainty taints.
I think it's a misogynistic. This is turned into a misogynistic show.
For all the women that listen to this podcast,
Women could potentially have smaller taints.
Allegedly.
potentially, yes. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with us, ladies.
Well, we got in trouble from Coach House's wife. She didn't like. Yeah, she didn't like the conversation the other day.
Wait, was it the
which
end
one?
where we talked about the
They were both like, "I can't believe you tasted it."
Hey, Coach House, I don't know if you listen right now, man, but I know you have. Okay, I know you're a manly man, but God knows that you have
He's
taken a
definitely
little.
He's definitely not
He
going to tell
has,
his wife.
but he knows he has.
Oh, of course he has. Come
yes,
on.
no, come on.
Locker
now.
room
Yes.
talk.
That's a lie. I hate you. I hate all you men lying about this, making me out here, just kicking me out, making me seem alone. All y'all do it. All y'all have done it. But what I was actually going to say at the beginning was thank you for getting us to 1,025 ratings, guys.
Nice.
We're at
That's
1,025. If
Yeah.
you guys want to rate and review,
That's not true. Really?
Yeah, 1,025.
That's a
We
lot of
got
reviews.
a comment
A
in
lot
that
of
review.
reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
stoked about that.
So for all you guys who continue to listen and you dig the stuff, go do it. We're pumping up. Go do it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
please.
Yeah, we're blowing up
We
We
are.
done did.
like a Starbucks bathroom.
But our last conversation probably put us down a little bit.
We come and we go.
Oh God.
We're going to hell.
Oh man. But I can't wait for Element to hurry up and send me some more watermelon.
What happened? They got
I'm
a short
almost
supply?
out. I have like 5 packs of watermelon flavor left, man.
This is my last one right
They
here.
can't kill those beavers fast enough.
Yeah. Maybe more.
Some people don't get what you're
Speaking
talking
of
Beaver
about.
taint-
butthole flavor.
Uh-huh. And people still don't know.
People
but
don't
that's
get what
okay.
you're
Who
talking
cares?
about. Explain it, please.
No, they have to figure it out.
They got to figure it out. They got to research it
They have to ruin their Google search history.
Yeah, I guess so.
permanently.
What does it mean by beaver butthole? But anyway, guys, the if you again, Andrew, you can tell them about how to get the 4-pack or whatever. But if you guys do what Andrew's about to tell you what to do, get all watermelon. All their flavors are really good. I really like orange, raspberry. It was raspberry.
Yeah, it was raspberry.
Wasn't it raspberry that had to do with the
Raspberries,
beavers?
Yeah.
Okay. Watermelon.
Mainly
though.
raspberry.
Mainly raspberry. Watermelon, that was amazing. So you guys got to check that out.
Yeah, we'll call it like the watermelon challenge, where you order all 4 boxes of Element watermelon flavor, watermelon salt. Yeah, so you can order 4 boxes of Element watermelon salt, but you're only going to pay for 3 of them, and that is over at drinklmnt.com/power project. You guys can check out a bunch of the information of why we take it, the benefits of it all, and then of course you can order a value bundle, which is getting you 4 boxes for the price of 3. Again, that's at drinklmnt.com/power project. Hit them up ASAP.
Yeah.
I've been listening to some podcasts lately.
Uh-oh.
I usually don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been listening to Joe Rogan a little bit more again.
You guys hot?
Yeah, I'm kind of sweating under this.
And
shirt.
I've been listening to Lex Friedman. I've always liked Lex Friedman. I catch him on YouTube here and there, but it just wasn't really, I don't know. I just don't dive into the other apps that often. But anyway, I listened to him. He had George St. Pierre on.
Oh,
Sick.
That
snap.
was a great episode. You guys should listen to it. I think you'd dig it.
I'm going to go. Well, I'm guessing it was a long one, right?
Yeah. They talked about all kinds of shit. They talked about fasting, and they talked about aliens, and they talked about George St. Pierre's career and all that kind of stuff. It was really good.
I just love how people in fitness are still just trashing fasting. I love it. It's really funny to me, but hey, it's cool.
It
Oh,
is
George
what it
St.
is.
Pierre talked about how his friends think that he's an alien because he's like, he doesn't eat,
That's,
but he's
oh.
jacked, So they're like, well, I don't understand. You don't eat.
I remember when he was on Rogan, he was saying that he thought he got abducted by aliens, though.
Wait,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, because he has these times in his life where he just can't remember what happened. Like he'll just black out, and then all of a sudden it's like the next day or some shit like
Dog.
that. And he's like, yeah, I think and I can't do his accent, but Rogan makes fun of him all the time,
Yeah.
and it'll be like, I think it was aliens, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, hey,
It's
Hey.
a trip.
yeah,
Well, aliens are real. They're out there.
yeah.
maybe that's why GSP is the greatest. Maybe that's why he doesn't need to eat. His insides have been reorganized and he can digest air.
He's probably on that Nsima plan.
Yo, fasting be mad weird, man. I'm still surprised that I haven't lost so much weight and muscle.
Right?
It's
I
so
love it.
crazy to me. I love it too.
It feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to get really big, just don't
Don't
eat.
eat.
Yeah.
makes sense.
No, I think that if you're getting your calories in and you're getting your protein in, there really shouldn't be a lot of reasons on why you're going to lose weight. I think people used to just think that you wouldn't be able to digest or be able to utilize those nutrients if you packed them all in at once. And I guess I could speculate that might be true for some people, especially people who maybe don't have a history of having a great appetite. Maybe they don't have a great appetite because when they start to eat a certain amount, their body's like, hey, you had enough. And so maybe they literally don't need more at that point. But someone that does have a great appetite,
Like us.
yeah, maybe their body's like, I mean, you have, I think your body has it has needs and wants for like salt and for, to get certain nutrients in every day. And the amount that you would probably like need to consume to survive is probably different than the amount that you want. But we got some pretty good resources. We can just cook up like 2 pounds of steak, 3 pounds of steak. And so considering that, there's no reason to really lose weight. If you can plow through 2 pounds of steak, I mean, I don't really see how you're going to be losing weight.
Yeah. And again, it's just like, you don't have to do it, right? But if you can get in your amount of calories in half of your day, let's say the latter half of your day, I think you're perfectly fine. You don't have to fit in food in 2 or 3 hours. Like, that's not what we're talking about here, right? But if you can get in all your calories within that period, I see no detriment to it, even if you're bulking. If you can still do that, it might be easier to spread it out, and that's okay too. But if you can fit it into a smaller window, try it out, see how you feel.
I like it because it's really convenient for me. I don't want to like be eating all day, and we're here at work doing shit, and I feel productive, and I don't want to be slowed down with food. Sometimes it feels good to eat food. Like yesterday, I ate some steaks.
Two steaks.
Yeah, while we were kind of kicking it for a little while, but normally I just kind of keep plowing on through. You change your, you learn over the years to change your mindset towards certain things. I used to be so rigid about there's this way to train. If power lifters, they need to do, this specific style of training, and you have to go heavier every week. And, I used to start my training a lot of times with 5x5, and then I would, move the weight up each week, and then I would lower the reps, and then I would lower the sets, and then I'd get down to a point where I would do like one set of one, that sort of deal. And then I might build back up one more time, and then I might compete or something like that. And then I later on learned about the conjugate system, which is like couldn't be any more different than that. And I was like, look at how many people are strong doing this. Like, what's the deal with this? How are these guys so strong? And how are some of these lifters? What I was interested in with the West Side stuff was not only how strong they were, but how they were surviving. There was many, many lifters that competed and that were doing West Side Barbell Method that were doing it for like a decade or longer, and they were still really healthy. And with people that I know who trained in different ways, they like weren't able to do it anymore. They were like banged up and stuff. And so I was like, I think this Louis Simmons guy, I think he's got something going on. So I had to kind of change my mindset. I had to keep my mindset open. I had to change some of my principles that I had directed towards powerlifting and say like, hey, I think I should be open to some of this. And I tried it and it worked great.
So this is actually the thing I want to ask you, because I think all three of us on this show, we have all these guests that come on, and from different people that have come on, we have started doing different things. We've added different movements into our training. We've done different things as far as nutrition to benefit us. So we're obviously able to all take new things in and try them out. But for your goals that you had back then when you were 330 pounds and you were focusing on powerlifting, I know there's probably things that you could have done better. So I'm curious, what do you think you could have done better at that time? But obviously, the principles that you had set for yourself at that time allowed you to reach the goals that you wanted to get to. Maybe there are some numbers that you didn't hit, but overall, eating in a way to get to 330 and lifting in a certain way allowed you to get very strong and compete well as a powerlifter. And then again, your principles changed for the goals that you have now. So how did that evolve for you? And what principles do you think you would have changed in the past to have been a better athlete?
You know, there's a saying in strength and conditioning, the program that you're currently not doing is the best one. And that's super frustrating. But what it alludes to is that as soon as you go and focus in on getting really, really strong, you're probably losing some other attribute of fitness. It doesn't always have to be true. I guess you could figure out a way to be dialed in to where you could figure it out to where you can keep some attributes. But like, let's just face it, if you're trying to get really, really strong, as Stu McGill pointed out and other people have pointed out in the past, you might lose a little bit of mobility. You might lose some athleticism for at least a moment, right? You might lose some quickness and some other things and so forth. So it's kind of difficult to figure out what would be the most exact optimal thing. But I think what happens is when we're open-minded towards certain things, and as soon as we gravitate towards something, it starts to become kind of religious, you know. It starts to get like overboard. It starts to get to a point where you're now going to church 4 days a week. Not only do you not cuss, but you don't want anybody else around you to not cuss. And anybody brings up anything and you're beating them with the Bible, you know, type of thing. And so I think if I was guilty of anything, it was probably that. It was probably like not... I dove all in on the West Side stuff. I'm like, this is a great way to train. This is really cool. I'm really super open-minded. But if I was being honest with myself, I was actually being closed-minded to some of those old ways of training. It didn't mean that those old ways of training were ineffective. It's almost like a fighter changing their camp. It doesn't mean the way the guy used to train is like total crap. It just meant that like he probably needed to change. He probably needed to gravitate towards something different. And maybe the new camp that he's with, maybe they have a more modern way of training, a slightly different way of training, but it doesn't mean the stuff he did previously is shitty. So progressive overload type of stuff, it's not really part of the West Side Barbell stuff, or it didn't used to be anyway. And I think I could have utilized that. I think that would have really helped.
What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean? Because like West Side, it's not like over time, like they are moving heavier weight. So what do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, they're not. It's not like linear periodization, and it's also not. It's not the same exercise, you know. So you go into contests, and you don't like. I didn't know everything. I knew a lot of what each exercise meant for me personally, and I knew what that would equal on the platform. But because I kind of shut down, I just had to know. I just had to know some stuff that was probably like unnecessary. Like, you know, I would know if I squatted, 800 pounds with a blue and green band on the bar that I could squat 1,050. But it's like, why wouldn't I just squat 1,000 pounds to see that, And Louis Simmons had explanations on why you wouldn't want to do that, because you wouldn't want to beat yourself up the same way and so forth. But I still can kind of see that I was a little bit closed-minded. One thing I could take a lot of pride in, though, is if people go back and watch some of those videos, I think it's the YouTube channel's Mark Bell's Super Training. Go back and watch some of those old videos, and you'll see like week after week after week, from 2009 until like 2015 or whatever it was. We tried everything. Like we really did. I can feel really good about that. Like when people are like, what do you think you could have done differently to be better? It's like, man, I don't really know, because it felt like we tried everything. Obviously, you can't try everything, but I'm doing good mornings with chains on the bar. I'm doing squats with bands. I'm squatting without bands. I'm squatting in equipment. I'm squatting raw. I'm deadlifting with chains. Like I'm doing, Zercher harness squats, as Andrew's pulling up a video. Like just doing all kinds of different shit all the time. Just to try to get better. We're bench pressing off of boards. Sometimes we're bench pressing off of something that we call the man pond. Bench pressing off of like towels or carpets, or like bench pressing on the floor. I mean, fuck, man. I even did, for like a long time, I did kneeling squats.
Jesus, you were thick.
Kneeling squats are so stupid. It's like the worst exercise ever.
Kneeling squat?
Yeah, kneeling squats are really hard. They're hard. It's hard to unrack the weight. You're literally on your knees, and you actually you just push your butt back a little bit, and it's like a hip movement, but it doesn't really make sense in my opinion. to squat that way. Good morning standing up, good morning sitting down, good mornings with different bars. We used safety squat bar, a cambered bar, a regular bar, like just anything that was new or different that came out. It's like, all right, let's get it. Let's figure out a way to try this. And so we had this real kind of open mind when it came to some of those things, but when it came to a couple other things, we kind of maybe were a little closed off to some of those old principles because we just felt like maybe those weren't useful anymore. But I think we could have incorporated them and even been better than we were, which we later did when Stan Efferding came in. And that's, part of the reason why Stan Efferding crushed everybody.
Yeah. I think that's where it gets a little bit tough, because I do think not just like when it comes to nutrition, like we can talk about like certain principles that we may have in nutrition nowadays, but those can change over time. I think that having that can make things easier when making decisions, right? So like if you're doing a training program and it's working for you and somebody comes to you with another training program, if your training program's currently working and you're like, I have a goal of heading towards here and what I'm doing is already pushing me towards that, it might not be a good idea to change everything, but it still might be a good idea to have an open mind on maybe a few things that you can, small things that you could add in to alter what you're currently doing to make things better. Because it's not good to necessarily be like, the principles that I have now are absolutely right, and I'm not willing to change because these are my principles, right? You can't do that because then you're not growing. But you also can't not have principles, because then you're just like a feather in the wind, and any type of thing that's coming your way, you're like, ooh, I'll try that, and I'll try that, and I'll do that, and I'll do crack. And yeah, you can't, somebody offers you some crack, you're like, I'll try it because I want to learn what that feels like.
That escalated quickly.
It did escalate quickly. But that's the thing. It's like there has to be a fine line because, again, with the goals you have now, you also have different nutritional principles. But maybe getting to 330, you could have done that maybe in a healthier way. But at the same time, like you had to eat like a motherfucker to get to 330.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun doing it that way. And maybe that was necessary. Maybe that was needed. In the conversation that I heard Lex Friedman talk to George St. Pierre, Lex Friedman said he loves kind of chaining himself to discipline. Like he enjoys that. He loves he's like, it's his own mindset. He loves saying no to delicious foods. Like that's like he enjoys that. George St. Pierre has a completely different mindset where he actually likes sugar and he likes carbohydrates. So he's like, I can't see doing your diet, man, because this is what I enjoy. So he enjoys the opposite. So I think you also have to have principles that fit some of your mindset in a way. And for me at the time, eating extra and enjoying a bunch of the junk food and stuff like that, it was all part of it. It was like part of the powerlifting culture. It was part of the fun of it. And I've told this story before, but the first powerlifting competition I ever went to, I was like, I didn't know what to do because I was just a kid. I was like 14 or something. And I thought like, oh man, I got this competition coming up, so I got to eat really healthy for it. And like, I didn't know what to eat. So I just ate like low fat because that was like a lot of the information at the time. So I mainly ate like cereal and like skim milk, and I'm drinking like protein shakes, and I'm just like farting nonstop and trying to eat like egg whites and stuff like that, and bread and
egg whites are the worst.
Sounds like my everyday.
Oh yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah. It was just cottage cheese. Just farting all day and just being a mess, but like not knowing what I'm doing. And I wasn't even trying to make a particular weight class. I was just like, oh, this is going to give me strength for the competition. So I'm like eating like fruit and drinking orange. I don't know. Orange juice always made me feel like Superman for some reason. I don't know. The vitamin C, you think you're going to get all jacked or something. I don't know what it was, but I was doing all that. And then it's competition day, and my brother's like, oh, we got to, pick up Mad Dog's friend. He's going to compete with us too. And it was this guy named Rob Constance. And Rob Constance was probably about, I don't know, he's probably about 270. When he got in the car, he took up the whole fucking front seat. Guy was jacked as hell. And he's like, boys, he's like, this is going to be a great trip. We were driving down from Poughkeepsie, New York to White Plains, which is like about 2 hours. And he's like, this is the best thing about powerlifting. And he whips out a big thing of sticky buns out of his bag.
Nice.
And we're like, holy shit. And then he goes, hey, if we finish this off, he's like, there's more where that came from. And I was like, this is the greatest sport in the
Hell
world.
yeah.
I'm like, this is how you get to eat. And so that's kind of like some of the stuff I grew up kind of seeing. And a lot of the guys in the gym, they didn't care about, I mean, they ate protein, you know, they kind of knew about protein and stuff, but they didn't give a fuck. You know, they were sitting there like eating M&Ms in between their sets and shit like that. They didn't care. And they were huge. So I was like, oh, I kind of thought like that's the way that you did it. When I later got into powerlifting and when I got like deep into it and went to Westside Barbell, those guys are walking in with like McDonald's. Tilt, who was a lifter there, who's 500 pounds. They did that.
He is 500 pounds?
He was 500 pounds.
Please explain the nickname.
The nickname Tilt was because he like, I think he got like hit by a car or something when he was young. And so he walked sideways.
I don't want to laugh.
I know. Louis a mean bastard. I think it was something like that. Or he's born with one leg longer than the other. Either way, it's mean.
It's so mean.
But
Call this man Tilt.
yeah, Tilt is oh, there's a lot of good nicknames there.
Oh no.
Tilt is on the lat pull down machine, and of course he's not using it for lat pull downs. He's just sitting there sweating to death in the middle of the winter in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey man, you using that?" And I kind of know that he's not using it. He's like, "Yep." And I'm like, "Well, fuck, I got no chance of moving him, so I'll just wait till he's gonna get up at some point." Like 20 minutes later, he like shuffles off, and there's a king size Snickers bar on the ground. I'm like, I wonder who dropped it. I wonder whose pocket that fell out of. So I kind of saw a lot of that, and then when it was time for me to powerlift and get big, I was like, all right, I know how to do this.
Yeah.
And I know what this is about. This is going to be a lot of fun. And I ate foods that would promote muscle growth, but on top of that, I'd eat junk food as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember
Okay.
my first introduction to all of that was it was at CSA before it was the location it is now, walking into Record Breakers for the first time. And there's all, you know, Team ST in a circle and just everyone's food. There was like Uncrustables and donuts and all kinds of stuff. I'm like, is that like what they eat like for lunch? Like, what is, like, I just didn't get it. I'm like, is that for like the whole team? Like, what is that? Like, and nobody knew who the hell I was. So it was like kind of awkward, but I was just like, wow, that's seems interesting.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know shit about powerlifting really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see if there's any video of Tilt, but it's somehow not coming up with much. But we'll see. I don't know.
But, you know, I do think that the sport, especially since the social media started getting more involved in powerlifting, the sport has changed to where now more powerlifters are caring and aware of their body composition. Like they want to get heavy, but they don't want to get heavy just because they can be heavy, right? They want to get heavy, have a good amount of lean body mass, and maybe not have their body fat so high. So they're developing better, like there's still a lot of like trash in the diet. And I think when I look back to when I got myself to 275, I could have probably done a little bit better, but the Ben and Jerry's 4 times a week, I don't know if I'd change it. That was fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, right?
It's really bad for me, but it was fun, and it got me heavy. So
I think some people could say that too about like relationships. When they get in a relationship, sometimes people gain some weight, and I think people could look back and say, you know what, I could have probably done a better job with my nutrition at that point. But at the same time, like those are probably some fun times that you had together, you know, and you get to enjoy food together, a couple of drinks together. There's nothing worse than, you know, somebody like walking around with their Tupperware all the time or weighing their food at a restaurant, shit like that. That's a little weird, especially early on.
But now the fact that you bring that up, that makes me say this. I think that you having gone through that, me getting myself to 275, you getting yourself to 330, coming down from it and seeing what you're doing now, I think that you understand, and your advice to people in terms of maybe getting bigger or healthier ways of getting bigger is even that much more important, because you can understand what you could have done better, right? So you had a lot of fun doing a lot of things, but you definitely know, hey, I look back at this and all of these are things that I could have changed to do this much better and maybe even be a better athlete, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's definitely a difference between like doing what you think is right and doing what's optimal. And then also too, like with my usage of drugs and combination of like getting that big, it wouldn't surprise me if I don't live to be 95 years old. So like when someone else wants to walk down that same path, I can say, hey, you know what, it might be something you want to be cautious of, because at some point you'll care about it. Like you might not care about it now, but if you're 65 and you're in the hospital, you know what I mean? Like these are things that like C.T. Fletcher and other people shit, like you wish you didn't eat that cheeseburger. You wish you didn't eat those French fries. And who knows whether he could have changed any of those things or not. Like we don't have any way of telling, but I can understand his point. Like that must be a scary time when you're literally like on your deathbed. You're probably like, I'm sorry about all the powerlifting I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's important for people to know up front, like what that cost could potentially be.
Mm-hmm. And that's another thing. I think that like, as you know, as you're going through this, we can take a lot of things from other people's nutritional principles, right? But it seems that a lot of individuals, first off, I think it would be necessary to develop that to develop some for yourself to make your decision making easier. But it seems that a lot of the time you have to see, and you typically are going to make certain mistakes that then has you look back at them and be like, okay, I'm definitely not going to do this again. And you develop a principle behind that. Like I look back on, for example, I think the strongest thing for me with this comes to looking back on like past relationships and seeing maybe the things that I did wrong, or the things that I shouldn't have maybe continued to deal with, that now have me develop new principles for the future to be like, okay, if this doesn't meet up with like this principle, right? If growth isn't a big part of somebody's life, maybe I don't deal with that. Maybe that's something that I don't waver on, right? And that's something
it's like a non-negotiable thing.
It's a non-negotiable
like, hey,
thing.
if you like acting that way, if you like being that way, I'm probably not the right person.
Probably not, right?
Like, so we need to talk through it now, or I need to disappear.
Exactly. But like, having that principle like that will make the decision, like it doesn't meet with the principle. And this is what me and Tom were talking about the other day. It doesn't fit in line with that. Okay. Don't even need to make that decision. Don't need to go down that path. Right. And that can play a big part in terms of just your growth as an individual, your growth in terms of relationships, life, business, nutrition. If you can sit down and write down some things that are going to help you be able to actually get towards those goals and develop like an outline, like a decision-making matrix to make everything easier, you have to make less decisions. You have to think less. And all of that can be so much easier for you to get towards that goal.
I agree 100%. I think this can be taken on like the micro level all the way down to like something as simple as a nutrition protocol, a nutrition principle. A principle for me that has been around for a pretty long time is like that I don't quote unquote need carbohydrates. Yeah, I don't necessarily need them. Does it mean that I don't eat them? No, it doesn't mean that I don't eat them. And it doesn't mean that I abstain from eating like ice cream and stuff like that. I still enjoy those things. But what it means is like that's dialogue that's in my head that helps me make decisions every single day. Another principle is protein first. Just seek out protein first. Let's just be on a mission to get protein. So when you do eat, let's get some protein. Another principle is that I don't have to eat. I can go many hours without eating. I don't need to be overly concerned with it. I'm not worried or have any concern about like losing a bunch of muscle or feeling so fatigued that I'm not going to be able to do a great podcast or perform well in the gym or whatever else it is that I'm trying to do. I feel good. I feel comfortable. So I will get to food at some point in the day. And the principle is on that is just you're going to be okay without eating food. But before that, my principle used to be, and I think you had a similar principle, was, hey man, like you better eat every 2 or 3 hours. Otherwise you're going to be screwed up. And having that principle and having that mindset would actually mess you up for workouts sometimes, right?
Yeah. Cause you'd get in your, like, if you don't eat, you'd get in your head about, oh, I didn't eat. And then you think that, oh, my performance is going to be kind of messed up because I didn't have that food 2 hours before my workout. Right. But then again, this is where it gets kind of tricky, because later on when I was like trying out these fasted workouts and seeing how I felt and understanding, oh, okay, I can just get some electrolytes in and I can still perform extremely well. I was then like, so maybe it doesn't matter that much and I can adjust. You know what I mean? So like, that's the thing. Like there are still some days where I will eat sometimes before I work out if I decide not to fast during the day. But if I don't eat or if I have a fasted workout, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me at all. And I think that that's a much stronger thing for myself and my goals moving forward.
I remember like when I was powerlifting, I remember like kissing my wife goodnight, like at bedtime. And she's like, "Oh, you're not coming to bed?" I'm like, "I still got to eat." And I go back downstairs and I'd eat more because that was my those were the principles I was tied to at that time. I was like, I ate dinner. I probably ate a little bit after dinner too. And it was like, I don't know, and now 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And I was like, I had a pretty hard workout today. Like, I think I just need more fuel. So I'd just go downstairs and I'd eat more food.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just it feels that way. But that was the principles I was tied to at that time, that I needed to eat frequently in order to keep my nutrition high. And I think you could take some of these principles that we're talking about and you can, you know, you want to put them on a micro level into your nutrition or into some principles that you develop through training. You know, maybe some people just think they should never do more than 5 sets of a particular exercise. That's fine. It's just it's your interpretation of what you think is best for you. But what I would say is be open to changing that and having a very flexible mind rather than a fixed mindset. One principle that I have kind of is more in general than anything else, and this is kind of an overarching thing that I oftentimes I forget, but it's something I do my best to stay connected to. And that's just like, don't take life so seriously. You know, don't take life too seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. Don't take anything that you're doing too seriously. And that doesn't mean like not to take it seriously at all, but it means just be lighthearted about it. Have some fucking fun. In the end, no one really cares. And we don't know why we're here, how we're here. Like, we don't know any of these things. So knowing that, for me, my interpretation of that is like, fuck it, man. We might as well have some fun while we're here. So just try not to you get your feelings hurt. You hurt someone else's feelings. Like, all these different things will happen. They're part of life. We can't always do anything about them. We can't always like attend to them. You can't fix everything. So fuck it, man.
Yeah.
You know, don't take life so seriously. So that's, for me, that's actually a helpful principle whenever I'm thinking about when something goes like wrong or something's kind of not heading in the right direction. I can almost just kind of laugh about it and be like, well, of course it's not going in the right direction. Look at all these other things that are fucked too. You know, I wish everybody knew how fucked like all these other things were too. It'd be even funnier.
What I take from that personally, like, don't take things too seriously, is don't let things bother you on a deep emotional level. Because, like, for example, if someone were to take that at face value, like, you just go to work and you don't give a fuck about what you do, right? That's what some people are hearing. Like,
Right.
I don't give a fuck about work. I'm not gonna make videos today. I'm not gonna. It doesn't matter. Don't take it too seriously.
Don't matter.
Don't matter. But like, what I take from that is, don't let things that happen, you know, affect me on a deep emotional level and like interpret things in a different way. Like, my interpretation of things has to be in a way where it's not that big of a deal. If things aren't going my way necessarily, I can look at it, I can assess, but I'm not going to let that be the thing that I focus on for days or weeks or months.
Here's one of the ways I like to view it is you're prepared for shit. So you're not overwhelmed by anything. If you went to jiu-jitsu and you worked with 3 black belts, and then you came over here 2 hours later after you went home, took a shower, we wouldn't even know it. You know what I mean? But if I went, because I'm not prepared for it, you'd be like, yo, like, what? Like, Mark, what happened?
Why are you limping in here?
Yeah, Mark, what happened today, dude? Like, you okay? You need a wheelchair? Like, what's going on? But I see people like that every day. They're kind of like, they're wearing it on their body. They're wearing it in their eyes. They're wearing it in the way that they walk. They're wearing it in the way that they dress. They're wearing it in just their actions a lot of times. And you're like, man, like, what the fuck happened to this person? And it's understandable to not be on your A game every single day and not be, you know, full of life and super fired up every single day. But I like to be able to, anything that's coming at me, I like to be able to Bruce Lee it. Like, Bruce Lee is my symbol.
Yeah.
You know, and whenever I feel like overwhelmed, like, he used to fuck up like 8 people in a row, you know, and it didn't matter how many different people came at him. Yeah. So I kind of always like to have the mindset of like, you know, we can just avoid a lot of conflict, which is something I probably do too often, but you can just avoid conflict, right? Or you can just have the skill set to take it on. And like, what feels better? Yeah. It feels amazing. It feels so good to have the skill set to be able to handle any sort of situation. You walk into a situation and, you know, if you were Bruce Lee and 8 people did surround you and want to beat you up, you'd be like, this is awesome. This is the greatest day of my life. I've been training for this moment. And then you roundhouse kick everybody in the face.
Yep. Bruce Lee everything. I like that a lot. Being able to Bruce Lee everything.
Karate chop.
Yeah. Yeah. All about being prepared. Like today's photo shoot. I was nervous.
Oh, really?
I haven't done a shoot like that in a while. Like where it's like I'm controlling like
You feel you were lean enough?
No, I was not. Yeah, that's
Damn,
why
bro.
I was on the other side of the camera.
Oh, okay.
But I did the same thing. I walked over to the studio and I started cleaning up and I started making sure that it was ready for, you know, the models, the talent. And yeah, just kind of did my thing. But after, I don't know, a couple seconds of moving shit around and realizing like, wait, no, I know what I'm doing. I was fine. So hopefully that didn't show during the shoot. But no, it was, yeah, it was pretty cool just being able to do all that and kind of get back into that photography mode.
For me personally, because I wrote down a list of some things that like I would say are like sets for me right now. Like for example, for nutrition, other than like the occasional glass of wine at night, I don't really have liquid calories.
White wine or red?
Yeah,
Reds.
Thank God.
Reds. Who do you think I am? I'm not trash.
I know. I have to tell my wife every night. I'm like, when she's drinking white wine, I'm like,
Ugh.
you're so low budget.
I thought you were classy, Andy.
That's what I'm saying.
Jeez.
Yeah, low rent. Get that low rent bullshit out of there.
At least it wasn't out of a box, right?
I know. She has improved. She's improved over the years. Yeah.
But really, in general, like no liquid calories. I don't snack really. Like there are really no snacks for me. When I eat meals at meals. I walk every single day. I make sure to do that, and I have some type of real physical activity every single day.
What'd you say about meals?
Oh, meals at meals.
What's meals at meals?
I love that restaurant. My favorite place to eat.
So it kind of goes in line with snacking. I'm not carrying around food to be munching on during the day. Like when I eat, and it's not like I'm not gonna have something random that I eat. When I eat, it's like, okay, I have this meal and I have this meal. That's it. Mm-hmm. I don't really eat anything afterwards. Like that's in just general how I operate. Whereas in the past, when it was harder for me to maintain a good body composition, I'd always have something in my mouth.
If you know what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? But I'd really be eating too much or eating too often or always responding to the feeling of hunger like we talked about before. And yeah, like real physical activity each day. So either if it's jujitsu or getting in some type of lifting, or if I don't have access to either, I'll maybe do some jump roping or some kettlebell stuff. I always got to get some, for me personally, some type of physical activity that's exercise in each day. Could be 20 minutes on a certain day, but it has to be something. And that's something I didn't always used to do. Like when I was focusing on like powerlifting or bodybuilding training, maybe it'd be 4 or 5 days of training and then other 2 days are like off. I don't do that anymore.
I like what you said too about, I think you said you had something on there about snacking as well, in addition to the meals at meals that you said, which I think is actually great. But I think, so some people, you know, when you start to deliver them a message about what you believe they should do, they hire you for coaching, for nutrition, and you communicate to them like, hey, we're gonna have to figure out something with these snacks. You know, I'm not a big fan of snacks, and we'd like to work you into this principle, or work you into this thing that I found helpful for me over the years. Well, one way to look at it is, oh man, I don't get any snacks. But there's another way to look at it, is I get to eat. When it's time to eat, I get to actually eat. And especially if you're utilizing like intermittent fasting. So the meals at meals thing is an opposite viewpoint, or just a different vantage point of saying, hey, you don't get to snack. But it sounds like more of an add-on than it does subtracting something out of someone's lives, because some people would be like, man, like I don't get an opportunity to snack. And what I would say to people is, I would actually still say that you can snack. But first of all, I would do it way less frequently. Secondly, I would just put the snack when you're done with dinner, and try to work your way into better snacks, healthier snacks. Like I did it last night. I ate some chicken, I ate some steak. My wife made some chicken thingy. I ate some broccoli, and then after that, I had a tasty pastry.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had a tasty. Listen to this, a tasty pastry dipped in some chocolate steak shake protein powder.
You evil genius.
It was amazing.
That sounds great.
It was incredible.
You see, but this is why I'm going to say that. I don't even look at that tasty pastry as a snack.
No,
that
it's-
is part of the meal.
Yeah, it's part of
Because
the
you
meal.
ate it, like that's what I do too.
Yeah.
Like I will have all of that stuff at one time.
Yep.
It's not like at 3 p.m. then I eat again at 5. Like, nah, it's all with it.
Do what you're supposed to do first. Get that shit done, and then you can play afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, yesterday I ate from like 4 p.m. to like 7 p.m. Like I just didn't stop eating it because I didn't eat as much as I wanted to here, so I was like way behind
That
on
can happen.
calories. Yeah. And then my dumb ass, I'm always like way low on fats, so I'm like, shit, I have to figure out. So I had Piedmontese ground beef, which is delicious, but
That's what happens when you walk around with fat-free cheese all the time.
yeah, I know that. And when you were explaining all the fat-free stuff that you ate, I'm like, that's me every day. I do eat a lot of egg whites, but yeah, and I was just laughing because like we had company over and like I was eating, they left, and I was eating again, and then I ate dinner, and then what's the matter with you? Oh, okay. Are you taking clothes off? I was switching. Anyway, so yeah, but by the end of the night, I had a big old protein shake, and
Changing clothes over there.
who does?
It's cold.
Yeah, it did get cold in here.
Okay. Yeah, it is kind of cool.
This is an interesting room because
It's
it's like
so-
it could be 4,000 degrees in here, and then all of a sudden it can be.
It's the definition of bipolar.
Bro, I was over. That was good. That was good. I started shivering over here, so I had to change the shirt, man.
I thought you were just getting excited. Those nipples were popping.
Nah, I got cold. And now he turns it off, and I'm going to start sweating in this shirt.
Yeah, now you're gonna be dying.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll see what happens.
How you liking that shirt?
Oh, this thermal?
Dude, that's
It's
a nice
comfy.
shirt.
Yeah, it fits well. Pull up the
Looks
sleeves
good.
a little bit.
The STG.
I like it. I
Yeah,
like it a lot.
it's hard for like anything to look like bad on him, but like that shirt looks really good.
That's what we should work on. We should
Trying to
work
find
on
something
trying to
else.
find shit that looks awful on him. Right?
Y'all are some dicks.
Like, here, put this on. Like, nope,
yeah,
that didn't
but
work either.
We'll mess up and be like, "Ha, here, put on this singlet," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" Put
him in-
make him look
Put him in a short skirt and just be like, damn, his legs look good.
Why is he
Yeah.
flexing?
I
Yo.
don't know. We'll think of something.
Let me ask you guys something. Are there any like life principles that you think that you go about by? Like you mentioned, how you don't let things you don't take life too seriously, right? And you try to get yourself to remember that. But what else? What else comes to mind for you guys as far as like life or business or whatever that you think people would really get something from? For me, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say doing the things that you say that you're going to do,
Mm.
I think can be really helpful. I don't know if you can do that all the time.
Mhm.
And when I say do the things that you say that you're going to do, I'm not necessarily talking about commitments to other people, but that could be part of it as well.
Yeah.
But the things that you say to yourself, make sure you follow through on those as much as you possibly can. And my little example that I give all the time is just like when I'm doing my run walks or when I walk in here with the sled, I just touch the wall. When I touch the wall and it's just because I tell myself like, you're going to go all the way to the wall. And then when I get to the wall, I touch it. I did it. I told myself I was going to do something. I actually followed through with it. I go back the other way and do the same thing. If I'm going to rest in between, I'll walk outside to the tree and I'll go and touch the tree. When I've been doing my run walks more recently, the light poles out here, I'll just touch them. And it's like, I just literally told myself something 5 seconds ago that I was going to run to this particular destination. And when I got there, I was going to like make contact with something. And so I think that does something for you. And I think that helps build a lot of self-esteem. And I think it helps build a lot of self-respect. You're like, I did that. Like I told myself I was going to do that and I did it. When you tell yourself maybe before you go to bed that you're going to have a 10 out of 10 day the next day with your nutrition, which I think is a good way to practice good nutrition and a good way to practice good exercise is to think about it in a day in advance. If you tell yourself that you're going to have a 10 out of 10 day, do your best to follow through with that because you're going to feel when you look back at that day, or if you're keeping a journal or writing anything down, you could say, you know what? I wanted to have a 10 out of 10 day. Everything that I ate today was on plan, on point, 10 out of 10. Give yourself a little star. I mean, there's a reason why you know, when you're a kid, they give you like stickers and shit like that. But we stop patting ourselves on the back at some point, and people think, I think, that it's you're not being humble. But I think there's certain times to be humble, but if it's with yourself, I don't think you should be humble with yourself at all. I think you should be really prideful and really excited about who you are and the opportunities that you have each and every day to get better. So a big thing for me is just following through. You know, try do your best. Like I said, it's not always going to happen, but do your fucking best that you possibly can to follow through on the things that you say you're going to do.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. One thing I don't know if I've never really considered it a principle, and it's of course stuff I learned from Mark. But like asking if something like how does it hurt or how does it help? How does it help? How does it hurt?
That's a principle for sure.
You know, just a quick example. Like yesterday, we podcasted about the same time. Thankfully, I didn't have to do as much to it, but there's been times where I will have to edit an entire show, and it's like, okay, do I want to do that right now? Or do I pack up and do it at home? If I do it right now, how does it help? Like, okay, I get done. And when I get home, I'm home. How does it hurt? I'm not at home as fast as I should be. You know, but then you flip that around. It's like, okay, how does it help? How does it hurt? The opposite. Like, okay, I leave quicker, but when I get home, I'm not going to be like present. So which one's the better option? And then, so like in yesterday's case, I just finished work here before I left. So that way when I got home, it's like, and thankfully I did, because like I said, I ate for like 4 hours, but that's like huge. And I use that for a lot of things, like with training, like I want to go heavier. How's this going to help? How's it going to hurt? Like it's going to help. Maybe I might develop a little bit more muscle here. Maybe. How does it hurt? Like I could throw my back out and be done for another 2 months. Like, you know, when you look at it that way, it's like, I'll just rep out a couple more reps instead. We'll go that route. With food, I think it's very black and white there. Like, how does this, you know, another 8 ounces of chicken help? Versus how does, you know, even a, you know, like a Quest bar or something. Like, okay, it's probably not going to hurt that bad, but maybe my stomach might be jacked up a little bit later and I, you know, just don't feel good. Versus, you know, how does this cake, you know, help? It doesn't help really much at all, in my opinion. And how does it hurt? It hurts a lot. So I use that quite a bit, you know, as often as I can. And this goes with like everything, like finances, stuff for the house. Like, you know, we got the Ninja grill. It's like, okay, how does this help? How does it hurt? It's like, well, fuck, it helps a ton. How does it hurt? Like, yeah, okay, it was like $250, you know, $250, which isn't cheap, but it's like, man, the time that's saved and the meals I'm able to cook on that thing, it's like, dude, thankfully now the weather's getting better. I can be outside with the pit boss, but yeah, dude, it was, I think it's really easy to use that, and it is very helpful.
I keep forgetting you told me about the Ninja Foodie. I need to pick that up. I really need to pick that up.
You'll love it. It is kind of getting a pain to clean though. Like once the like the grease and stuff gets caked on, it's like I need like a pressure washer.
I think there's quite a few, but the one thing that I always try to make sure is that I'm always open to criticism. Because I feel like if you're not open to criticism, like if you're someone who takes a lot of things too personally, when someone's like, you could do this better, or hey, I was listening to this and maybe you could have tried this, you will get in the trap of thinking that you're always right. I know that back in like 14, 15, I thought that everything that I was doing as far as like working out and getting ripped or whatever, I thought that all the core principles that I had set up at that time were the best thing or whatever, right? But when I became open to new things, different ideas, trying new things, I saw much better ways for myself to do things. Doesn't even necessarily mean that what I did at that time was wrong. There was just a better way for myself because I was open to having a totally different viewpoint. And even now, like I'm always open to criticism from others. Doesn't mean that I'm automatically going to change my mind on something if somebody, whatever, but I will be open to hearing it out, seeing how it is applied and seeing if it's better than what I'm doing currently. And that will allow me to make a change. And that's what I think that's a big thing we're talking about here. Like we're always quick to change something if we know it's actually going to be better, or at least try something for a little bit and see if it ends up being better for us, because that's going to ensure that you're always growing as an individual and that you're not staying stagnant and doing the same shit all the time because you think you're always right.
I think a hard part about being open to criticism is if you're frustrated about something. So you say something that you're frustrated with, like, man, I really want to get better sleep. And then someone makes a suggestion to you, and there you are with your fucking semi-automatic weapon shooting that shit down right away when they have a suggestion. So it's a great principle to adopt, to be open to criticism, but do your best to do it when you're in a frustrating moment. You know, I wish this
Wait,
thing
when
was
you're in or when you're out of a frustrating?
when you're in a frustrating moment.
Ooh.
That's the hardest time to be open to the criticism, because it's weird, because you just vented to somebody else. You told them what your problem is. They try to interject your problem, and then you're like, well, the problem with that is this, or I tried that already. You know, how many times do you do that? I tried that already. And it's like, yeah, you didn't really try it probably that much.
Tried
you
it
know?
for a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you really try it? You know, so, or did you really do it? Right.
Yeah.
And so that can be, I think that is very difficult to do. And I think that just being open to criticism in general is huge, but it's hard sometimes, because maybe it is an area that you recognize is weak, and maybe that area, a lot of times those weak areas are like really protected. You know, you got some like security in that area. And once somebody breaches the security, you're like, oh my God, can't believe you said that to me. But sometimes you need even criticism that could be really hurtful. Like, I think we're normally looking for constructive criticism. But, you know, think about the term constructive, like you can build great things off of even bad criticism. You know, like I would say the only bad criticism would be if something's not true that they're saying to you. But if someone was to say that you're fat and you're actually fat, as bad as that hurts, you can use that as constructive criticism and try to turn that your best way into a positive. You don't want to be hanging out with people that are going to be negative like that and try to make fun of you and talk shit about you like that. It's different if somebody is saying, hey, like, I'd like to see you to be more healthy. I'd like to see you make, but that's a totally different conversation, right? But even something that could be viewed as bad could turn out being good. A lot of times we see people make huge change. Oh, that guy, he's nothing but a drunk. And then the guy hears it, that stings. He's not a fucking drunk anymore, right?
Yeah, it's tough if the whatever they're critiquing is one of your principles. Like, let's just say, you know, oh, I want to get better sleep. It's like, oh, it's probably because you work out real early, so you're not sleeping in enough. It's like, no, but you don't understand. Like, that's my thing. I work out early in the morning. Like, well, like, okay, well, fine.
Well, if you get 2 hours of sleep like me, like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, but what if somebody was like, Nsima, imagine how much better you'd be on 4 hours of sleep.
You just need to not sleep and not eat, and you'll be fine.
Something I learned more recently that I think is huge that people they can write this one down. I think this is a good one. You can cash this one in at the bank. Really move away from criticizing people and move towards criticizing ideas. You know, like, don't criticize like a person for kind of who they are, how they act in particular, but you can definitely be critical, and you can be judgy if you want, if you want to call it that. You could be judgy of their ideas and just kind of think to yourself, I don't know if that's a great idea to do that. But that's way different, right? It doesn't cut as deep as really, you know, criticizing, you know, a person. But a lot of times I think if you are to criticize someone's idea, depending on how you did it, they're going to feel like you might be criticizing them as a person as well.
Yeah, that's the interpretation part about things.
The two might blend together.
Yeah.
But, you know, using like today's photo shoot, for example, which I didn't really get a chance to see, but, you know, using like photography as an example, like there could be, like, I don't know anything about photography, so it's hard for me to be critical of a particular photography technique, but you would probably be able to interject. Like, someone could have said, hey, Andrew, have you ever considered to try this other principle or this other concept or idea? Now, instead of them like shitting on a particular way that you were shooting, they're they are critical of your idea, of your concept, but they're wording it in a really good way. And you can say, oh yeah, I've used that on a couple other shoots before, but I don't have the right software on my computer to make it work the way that I wanted it to come out, or something like that, right? And then it's like, you weren't negatively impacted by that guy at all saying that to you, because you were like, oh, that's cool, he's trying to give me an idea.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I think an aspect that like I take from that personally, and it comes into me when it comes to social situations or whatever, I don't shit talk people, and I don't like it when I hear like people shit talking people, right? Because you know, you've gone to situations where you just hear people are talking about one person, that person's not there, and it's just not like what the fuck's going on here. So that's something that like if I've been in groups or I've seen that happening, I just kind of dip, because I don't want to be around groups that take that type of idea of like shit talking or talking trash on people. That's not productive. That's not fruitful. And a lot of the times people are doing that because maybe they're jealous of something about an individual, or there's something like that is something that I live by. If there's ever people or groups I notice that they do that a lot, I just distance myself from them.
I'm kind of that way in general. Like, just I think maybe the way I grew up, like if people are doing shit that like just doesn't fly with me, I'm out. You know, like if they're doing something and something just seems off, and things seem like they're gonna like, people are gonna do a bunch of weird drugs or do something just different than what I'm used to, I'm just kind of uncomfortable, and I'll usually move away from that. But it's kind of the same idea. Like, people tend to pile on in those situations, and they kind of keep piling on, and you see this a lot with, you know, this happens a lot in families. You know, when you start talking about a family member, a lot of times it's starting out in a place of love and care, where you do want to assist somebody and help somebody, but one person starts talking about them, and another person starts like, you know, kind of talking poorly about them, and then it just gets worse and worse, and you're like, man, we're kind of like, if this person ever heard this, they would be super upset. And so sometimes it goes down that rabbit hole, and a great way to avoid it is to get the hell away from it, not participate in it.
Yeah. If you're listening to this episode, I think it'd be something really fruitful for you to take some time afterwards or whenever you want to, and just write down some maybe potential principles that you'll have for yourself. Because you guys know who Ray Dalio is? Yeah, Genius Investor. He had his book was called Principles, right? Where he like laid out all of his like big financial principles. And the reason why it did so well is it gave you a big idea of the way that he went about making decisions and the way he went about that, right? If you can understand somebody's principles, you can kind of probably understand what big decisions they'll make in certain situations. So I think for this, like, if you guys want to take something away from this, go and maybe listen to some of the things that we mentioned here, but just try to maybe outline some of your own life principles for yourself, as far as your nutrition, as far as your fitness, as far as maybe your life, your relationships, your social interaction. Maybe outline some of that for yourself. And because I think that'll also help you understand the things that you really value. Like for me, myself, I personally value peace. I don't like chaos. I don't like drama. If that shit's near me, I'm out. So when I find myself in situations with individuals or people where like there is not peace, I will be gone. I don't do well like that. So that's a big part of my decision-making matrix when it comes to dealing with people and dealing with individuals.
Love that. What about, let's see, how would somebody navigate this scenario, or just this whole situation period, where we'll just use nutrition because it's easy, but like, you know, like one of my principles is like, I'm not going to eat certain foods or whatever, but then it starts impacting like my wife and my family or something. You know, like how can you be very not strict, what's the word, disciplined on your principles without it, or, you know, negatively affecting, you know, family, friends, etc.
Sometimes these things are complicated situations, but I think if you're to normally these things don't completely come out of nowhere. So that's a opportunity for education, I think. And you can say to your kids or your wife, you can say, hey, you know, I've been like pretty embarrassed about the way that I look for a long time. And I was made fun of as a kid. And like, you've heard me talk about all these things. Oh, it's hard to talk. It's not easy to talk that way. Not easy to be like so transparent. but you know how hurtful it's been for me, you know, to go through that when I was a kid and so on. And these are the changes that I really love to make. And it would be like I kind of need you. I need your assistance on this because this is going to be something that, you know, I talked to my coach and he said like it's kind of a 24/7 plan, you know, so I'm going to need your assistance. I'm going to have moments of weakness where I'm probably not doing so good. So like I just think like, yeah, there could be a lot of like give and take on that over time, but I think if you're just real transparent and open with people and have a conversation, I think, you know, one of my favorite quotes is like one of the worst things about communication is thinking that it ever happened. And so you just kind of, you assume that because you're walking around with Tupperware and you're weighing your food, that your family understands this commitment that you have now. You know, but you could say like, you know, that maybe they don't even know how into lifting you are. Like maybe they're just not even, they're not like at the gym with you. You could say, it's a real passion for me. It makes me feel great. I want to pursue it further. Maybe potentially you want to compete. And just as much information as you can give somebody, I think is the most important thing, because if you're to say, hey, I'm going to do a bodybuilding show within the next year, and, you know, it's going to consume a couple of months. But even during this whole year, I'm going to make a pretty big commitment to getting leaner and to getting bigger. And these are I want to shift gears to do some of these things. I think much like somebody trying to make more money and being gone from the household a lot more, which that conversation probably never happens either, but those are all good things to communicate about. I mean, to tell your spouse, say, hey, I'm 30 years old, you know? And so when I leave in the morning, like I'm fucking gone for the day because I'm trying to work my way up the ladder, and I want to be a management position or whatever the hell job it is that you have. Even if you're not necessarily not going to be home, you're just going to be fucking busy all day. I want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I want to help all these people with my online business. Like, you're going to be pretty fucking busy. And I might be this way until I'm 40, you know, but my goal is to be that way till I'm 40 and then be able to, you know, move on to some other things that aren't as time consuming or whatever the conversation is. So I think just trying your best to be upfront with it. I think most of the time you'll find that people are going to be supportive.
That's a big aspect of it, being able to communicate that, because a lot of reasons why people do have problems with that is because it's not clear. Like, that's why it took me a second to understand that quote you said. Half the problem with communication is that
it's thinking that it ever happened.
I was thinking about, oh shit. That makes a lot of sense, because you don't usually talk about the hard things. You just kind of sometimes expect them to know when they really have no clue.
Yeah, a lot of times you're like, why didn't this person do this thing? And then it may have been like you didn't maybe even tell them like when or where, and your feelings are all hurt. Your mind's racing, you know, you got all this anxiety over it and shit. And then you talk to them, and then everything's totally fine because they're like, oh, I didn't know we were going to do that this Saturday. Did we talk about? I mean, sometimes guys fuck that up, right?
We don't remember anything.
Yeah, we're not listening very good. Yeah, we need to work on that.
This is what I look at when it comes to the whole listening thing. Okay, when it comes to the listening thing, I remember the important things. That can get dark real quick.
Yeah, it depends on what you.
So my mom's birthday is not important. Whatever it is, you know.
See, I got myself. The mind just deletes things that it doesn't think is useful.
My wife, keep digging.
My wife she doesn't even really tell me anything anymore.
Really?
That's good.
She's just like, I'm like, oh, where are you going? She's like, oh, doing this. I'm like, she'll tell me like right then. She just doesn't even bother anymore, you know?
Nice.
Because she just thinks you won't remember.
Yeah.
And she's probably right?
She's like, are you ready to go? I'm like, where are we going? She's like, it's Easter. Going over to my mom's house or whatever.
That's great.
I'm like, all right, I'm with it. Cool.
It's a great thing when you learn that a person doesn't listen to certain things, you adapt. Right? So that's what she's done. She's adapted.
She's had to adapt. She knows my principles are shitty.
About the whole not caring about anything. Yeah.
You know what I've so let's talk to the men real quick. What I've learned that I think is super useful is use the notes app on the phone. Whenever you think your lady says something that you think you probably should remember, just open up your notes app and put it in there real quick. Like if she says that cotton candy is her favorite candy,
Oh, gotcha.
you're gonna forget something like that. Like I'm gonna forget that. I'm gonna forget your favorite color. I'm gonna forget your favorite flowers. But if it's in my notes, that's under your name, I can always reference it.
Don't get the names
I was
mixed up.
gonna say don't mix it up with the other pages in your notes.
just code the note, whatever. Just put it in the notes so that like you don't have to keep it up here because we know it's not gonna stay up here.
never
It's not
gonna-
important.
Like, why does it say that Bill likes daisies? I'm confused. His favorite color is
Wait,
yellow?
Weren't you saying
Hey.
Bill's kind of fat? Like, hold on, wait.
Who is this guy?
Like, how do we have the same color and like the same things?
You can also do this with receipts. Let me tell you this. You can also do this with receipts. She says something that you think's fishy or weird, and you need to keep that, put it in the notes. Make a note titled
Oh,
fishy
Got
and
it.
write it down. And then you can write the date. And then you know, hey, on this day at this time you said this. What do you mean?
Oh.
Hey man, these are tactics.
Tactics
I'm
over,
giving y'all gold.
tactics over principles.
Yeah. The notes app is pretty
The
powerful
notes
though.
app is great. Josh Shetteledge has taught us a lot about notes.
Yeah, but like you could also like communicate on the notes app, like on the DL.
Mhm.
It's dangerous stuff.
Wait, what do you mean? You mean
So-
shared notes?
Yeah, shared notes.
Ooh.
Yeah, like, oh, this is my grocery list, and it's like, what you want a lot of eggplants when you go to this grocery store.
Oh man.
Maybe it's an organic vegetable place?
Yeah.
Or is it eggplant a
Lots
vegetable?
of peaches in here and all kinds of. Anyways,
I was joking about the receipt thing, guys. Okay.
Okay.
But I was serious about like the things that she thinks is important. Put that in your notes because you're gonna forget if you're like me.
You guys
That's
know
true.
about the 80-20 principle?
Yeah, the Pareto principle. Yeah.
Yeah. The 80-20 principle. It's
Mhm.
like you like it's really weird with clothes. It's really annoying because you most of your clothes you
got
never
it.
wear, you know. You,
Oh yeah.
You only wear
Yeah.
like 20% of it, and I think for a lot of people it's like way less.
Yo.
You know, you just get comfortable with certain things and certain style,
Mhm.
and then you're like, why'd I ever buy that?
Well,
You look at
Yeah.
that thing, you're like, that color never worked on me. What was I thinking?
There's
Yeah.
also different seasons though. I have
Yeah.
thought about that. Like there's a bunch of clothes that I'm just not wearing right now. But you're right. There are a lot of
That's
clothes
true.
that I just haven't put on in a long time that are spring and summer ready.
yeah. If my clothes don't get like rotated out, I'll wear the same shit every week. Like like clean shirt goes on top. Okay, I'll wear that shirt, and that gets cleaned again, so that goes back on top. So I just keep wearing the same shit, and then, but on top of that, I just wear like black and gray stuff all the time anyway. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter for me.
That could be another useful principle is to just try to eliminate how many choices you have to make every
Yeah.
single day, you
Mhm.
know? So, do your best to kind of like clean out your closet, do your
Mhm.
best to, for me, it's helpful just to know, like, I don't eat that many different foods. Like I don't have it makes it way less complicated. I'm not like, should I go eat Chinese food, Mexican food? Should I have pizza? Should I have Italian food? Like none of those things are really options at all. So
yeah.
I don't have to think about it. Every once in a while, if I want to just eat whatever, sometimes that comes into play. But just having a schedule, being somebody that learns to schedule stuff. I think people listening right now, they probably have way more principles than they give themselves credit for.
Of
They probably
course.
don't even know like that. Journaling is like it's a principle, it's a habit, it's something that you decided that's in your best interest, and just with whatever principles it is that you have, I'd say, hold them close to you, keep them, but also be open to potentially looking at some other ways of doing things a little bit better. Figure out ways to optimize and keep tweaking and tweaking over time. You'll end up with some things that are like just better and better
Mhm.
for yourself.
Yeah. An easy like example. So like here at ST, like we have a company calendar. I was horrible at looking at this calendar, and
Same here.
Yeah, I know. You'll get there.
You know.
Well, now we know like things literally don't happen unless they end up on the calendar.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I gotta remind me to show you how to get emails from the calendar every day, so that way you're not surprised. Like, trust me,
I
that was
haven't
huge.
checked the company email. Oh God.
Yeah, we need to.
Fuck me.
So one of the habits that turned into, I guess, a principle is checking our company calendar every day. And like without that thing, I kind of don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So Stephanie would tell me about something, and like a dude, I'd be like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, I told you about this the other day. Like, So we've kind of implemented the same thing where like she will put stuff on my calendar that shows up on my phone without me knowing. And then I'll look and be like, oh, dope. There it is. So that's been gigantic for us.
See, women need to listen to this show to understand what men think. Because you see that right there? Let me tell you what a typical woman response to that is. I don't want to have to put me in your calendar like you're some businessman.
Well, it's definitely not that, but
we should be spontaneous.
oh, well, I mean, yeah, you can, but like also if you know that my calendar is kind of full, that you definitely can't be spontaneous today at 1:30 because I'm podcasting.
That's very true. Oh man,
I've had to tell Andy that before too. I'm like, check the calendar. She's like, we're doing this on Thursday. I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think something else is in the way.
yeah.
Oh my god. You know, that I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I'm gonna use that next time. But today,
Like, schedule that shit.
the 80-20 thing you were mentioning, you know how the Tim Ferriss based off the whole initial thing on the Tim Ferriss experience off the 80-20 rule? Like when he was like learning jujitsu, or you remember his whole challenge thing when he's like, I'm gonna learn jujitsu in a week and then challenge a black belt. You know, he would look at what are the biggest things that are important in terms of jujitsu. Like what are the, like for him, I think he was learning the guillotine choke, and because the guillotine was like a very high percentage choke that he could learn very quickly, and perfecting that, and that would help him be able to tap a majority of people. So with the 80-20, it's like figure out what are the biggest important things that are going to help you get the most results initially. That might not mean that you're a master at whatever, but that might mean that you understand a majority of things to get yourself from point A to point B, and then you can fill in the details later on rather than worrying about all the little details right now.
I think we may have talked about this on a previous show when you were talking about going through that website and doing a lot of that self work.
Yeah.
Self-authoring. There we go. You know, I think another thing from a principles perspective is to have a principle of awareness of just like, you know, why you're doing certain things. You know, go a couple questions deep on yourself. Even like I even do that with guests that we have on the show. Like I want to learn how much they know about a particular topic. You go a couple questions deep, sometimes only 2 questions, but usually like 3. Go 3 questions deep on somebody on a particular topic, and you can see either how passionate they are about it, how much they believe in it, and or how knowledgeable they are. If you say, if someone you know, says that they think that carbs are bad, you say why, and you're going to start to probably find that their ideas will dwindle down if they really truly don't believe it. But you'll find their ideas actually might get a little stronger if they're super knowledgeable about that or passionate about that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll also help you figure out, like, I think when you're looking at, let's say, your belief about something, you should do that to yourself. You know, as much as you can like question other people, you should question yourself on, why do I think this training style works so well? Okay, well, poke holes in the stuff that you're doing, because if you poke holes in your ideas or you figure out where other people may differ from you, then that can either allow you to understand more about what you're doing, why what you're doing works, and you can strengthen it, or that'll be the thing that allows you to maybe change your mind and take up something else because you see that, okay, that is a big hole that I need to fill. And this idea will help me fill said hole.
Yeah, you can
Like,
fill that hole.
There we go.
But you can approach it like from like the YouTube comment side. You know, be like, what are people gonna think about whatever this principle, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it was funny. This just popped in my head about you know, like why things are like what you were talking about, Mark. But like my aunt came over and she was talking about how she's trying to cut back carbs. Sorry, Tia, I love you. And she's like, yeah, so I have a banana with like this and da-da-da. And I'm like, well, you know, bananas carbs. And she was shocked, and she was like, you know, and like I kept, you know, question after question, it was like, yeah, it's like 100% carbs. And then I was like, well, actually, wait, no, because she asked me again, and I'm like, no, there's fiber in it, so like it's like not all carbs. But it was funny, like, because I'm just thinking about that. Like, she went just like 2 questions in, and I'm like, actually, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, but I can tell you that yes, that's a carb.
But okay, so that is an aspect of it. Like
Mhm.
that, as you get better at something, you'll understand the general idea behind it that'll get you somewhere.
Yeah.
And then over time, you can get yourself to understand the details about why the things are the way they are.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it's tricky, but like if you're trying to, if you're someone who's not a trainer or whatever, and you're trying to get in better shape, I think it would be good to have a practice of not getting bogged down by all the details.
Mhm.
Because I think that's one thing that stops a lot of people from moving forward. They'll try to take in way too much information that'll stop them from trying to take action on whatever goals they're doing, because they don't feel that they know enough to start working out or to start, jujitsu that's a great example. I always find it wild when people are like, I need to get in better shape to start jujitsu. The only way you're going to be able to start jujitsu is by starting jujitsu. There's so much there that like the little things that you're doing here are going to play no part in you improving in that realm. Same thing when it comes to like going to the gym. There's nothing that's going to help you into going to the gym other than going to the gym and just starting doing something rather than trying to get all these things set up first before you go ahead and do it.
Where do you guys think that comes from? I was just thinking, like, you can't get good at brain surgery by just diving right into someone's head, right? Like, you had to go to school for it. So maybe that's where this all started. But yeah, what do you think?
Self-doubt.
Got
I
it.
think.
Okay.
There was a brain surgeon at some point that did that. That just was like,
Mark some.
I'm gonna crack that dude's head open and I'm
Yeah.
gonna fix it. And we did have a lot of deaths from shit like that, but
Yeah.
there's the people figured things out over the years. My dad knows somebody that this is really interesting, and I don't know if other people do it, but the guy that saved my dad's life, he practiced on eggs, and he would, with little tiny tools and little tiny things, he would practice picking up like an egg yolk, pulling an egg yolk away from an egg white, because an egg
Whoa.
yolk is like, it's like tied in there pretty
Yeah.
strongly.
Yeah.
Like, how if you ever separate them out,
Mhm.
it's actually kind of hard.
Yeah, you can't get
gotta-
the whole thing separated.
Yeah, it's really, really tough.
Guess I'm having that one.
Yeah, so
I
he would
always
be able
mess
to,
up.
he would practice and practice and practice. That was a way for him to practice before he would work on someone's body.
Wow.
And he was like super skilled, and he had to like teach himself to like really be super calm, and he'd had to pay attention to like, what he drank beforehand, what he ate beforehand.
Mhm.
His blood sugar couldn't be low. He couldn't have caffeine beforehand. Like,
Yeah.
there's kind of a lot of things in order for him to keep a steady hand. But yeah, that's an interesting thing is, how do you go do something that you just haven't done before, or how do you brave enough to do it? I think a lot of it has to do with just a lot of self-doubt. Like, you don't think that you can do it, but I also think that that's totally fine that you can't do it because you don't know it, because you have never done it before. So
Mhm.
if you're going to go and you're going to start taking up some art and you want to like paint, well, you should be ready for sucking at it really bad. And that's okay. Like, and maybe something I always took pride in that helped me a lot in lifting was to get my ass kicked by people. Like, I remember when Eric Spoto came in and just crushed me on the bench. It was great for me. I was like, that's awesome. Like, I was appreciative of it. I'm like, I'm glad this mutant just came in here and just walked all over me. I had similar things happen in professional wrestling. Like when I wrestled John Cena for like an hour, and I was totally dead after the match, and he was totally fine. He looked like he could go run around the block a couple times if he wanted to. Like, it's exciting to me to like, know that there's some different levels of these things, and I could strive for those same things too. We all have the right to strive for those things and to aim for those things. But I think a lot of times our self-doubt kind of gets in the way from us ever even starting in the first place.
I think because the other day, I don't remember what episode we were talking about, but we were talking about how, Stu McGill talked about the density of neural drive, right? And taking yourself right to that place where, typically you'd fail, but brushing up so it's hard enough where you can make progress, but not too easy where you don't. And it's cool to set things up in that way. Generally, it's necessary too. But what you just said there, as far as like, getting crushed by Spoto and training with Cena, and he was like, he wasn't winded. I think that right there takes a very, like, you need to be someone who can change your mindset about things like that, because a lot of people get into those situations, and initially when they see this person who's so much better, there's a level of just like defeat, right? It's just like, fuck. Okay, well, I'm out. I don't need to come back to the gym, right? Like, there's no reason I should be doing what I'm doing now because everyone is so much better. But there's also the mindset of, okay, I see what I can achieve there, right? There's someone, actually, Hakeem posted about this, and I thought it was really interesting. There's this guy, his name's Hakeem White. He's an awesome guy. He helped me with like learning certain things about my business and improving. But he posted this thing about dark energy, right? You know how a lot of people are like, don't be envious of other people? He posted this thing on Facebook where he was like, be jealous and be envious, because dark energy can somewhat be a lot stronger than, you know, whatever light energy. And it does make sense. I do understand it, because like when you see someone who's doing something so awesome, sometimes people are like, oh, don't be jealous. But being a little bit jealous of that can actually allow you to try to figure out things that can help you get there. Like when I was getting murked my black belts as a white belt, I was fucking jealous and envious about their skill. I was, absolutely. I wanted that. And because I wanted that, that gave me kind of this drive to just want to train and train and train and get my ass beat over and over and over again to try to develop that kind of skill, right? So I think you have to have that mindset of seeing things that are so much better than yourself, knowing that you're not there and it's going to take you a long ass time to get there, and then going back the next day and doing it again and again and again.
Negativity is extremely powerful in a lot of ways. And if you think about like sometimes the stuff that we even bring up on the show, a lot of times it kind of comes from like a negative side, you know. Maybe we're talking about Biden charging more money for people to eat meat or whatever, whatever that thing is. We might, you know, but like, what else are we gonna talk about him doing something real positive? Like I don't really follow the news anyway, so I'm unaware of like anything he does. I just know from like Sean Baker and from stuff that we talked about around here. But no one told me anything positive, you know, so I don't have a pause. And if they did, I probably shrugged it off because it wasn't alarming to me in any way. It didn't make any like bells or whistles go off. But this thing about meat, I'm like, oh, now it's something to talk about. And so a lot of times these negative things, they have a strong and powerful charge, and it really, it's easy for them to survive and to move forward.
About the meat thing. So I did some Google searches. So people got trolled by Daily Mail. It wasn't real.
Not
like
a real
Biden never said it. Yeah. I initially I saw Baker's post too. I saw some stuff from Saladin. I was like, oh shit, really? But yeah, apparently the Daily Mail put out an article saying that Biden was going to do that, and it looks like Biden never said it.
Cool.
Yeah, so
It looked like it never happened.
we're not going to get a meat tax, which
Thank
is nice.
goodness.
But yeah, like I agree with I agree with the negativity thing. You know, it's like I guess it can that type of idea can quickly go south if you don't have the right mindset with it, right? Like you can then start doing some pretty murky things because you're envious and jealous, right? But you can also use that as a power.
Well, I think most people aren't in the positions that they're in because they completely made it up. Like you're not built the way you're built because you made it up in your own head that you were going to have this particular physique. There's probably other physiques that you envied when you were young, where you're like, I would love to be built like that someday. Same thing with me with making money. You know, I didn't make this up of owning my own business. Other people have done it before me, where I've been like, man, like that guy's got a bunch of shit that I would love to be able to do someday. But I never really looked at it as like, I hope that guy falls apart. You know, I never looked at it that way. I was always more like looking at these kind of things like, I'm pretty sure I can figure a lot of that out. Maybe not all of it, maybe not all at the same time, maybe not the same level, you know, but I think I could figure like a bunch of it out and end up being pretty good and end up being pretty happy about it, because the journey is the most exciting part anyway. So I kind of always felt that way.
Yeah, I think one way that I look at it, I never really thought of it as an envious way, but like, you know, we had Jimmy from Super Coffee on, and like he was like literally like working as he's doing the podcast. I always look at it as like, damn, that guy makes me feel lazy. Like, and I mean, I don't love that, but I kind of like I do love that. Like someone like Todd Abrams, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
Todd. Icon Meals, like he has hella kids, and he's fucking crushing business, and it's so great.
And he talks about all the books he's read and shit. And you're
Yeah,
like, what?
and then on
How
top
do you
of
have time for all this shit?
yeah, and then he goes and trains hard with Mark, and he takes his shirt off, and it's like, oh shit,
jacked.
dude, what the, like, what am I doing over here? You know? So like that stuff really motivates me, but it does kind of come from like, damn, dude, I do want that, and I don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, oh, that fucker made me feel lazy. So then like I kind of want to get off my ass and go do something.
And this, I think, is where it comes to it all comes down to giving everybody their individual responsibility, because we talk of like, there's this whole narrative about social media. It's like there are detrimental effects of social media, especially on young people, in terms of like maybe the way that they look at themselves or what they don't have. Like when you see really like wealthy individuals doing their thing, standing by their Ferrari, it can make people feel very like they don't have as much self-worth, or they don't feel as I guess they don't feel as confident in themselves because there are just certain things that they don't have, right? And I understand that. But I think on a deeper level for the individual, you should more so look at like, okay, do you really value the wealth that person have? Is that something that like you really value? And if you value what they're doing, right? If you truly do, then instead of, letting that get you down, figure out ways to get there. But I think a lot of people also see things on social media that are cool, but they don't really value it. And then they attribute a lot of importance to something they don't value. Do you get what I'm saying here?
100%.
Yeah.
And you want to be those things for what they can make of you, not necessarily just be those things randomly. Like, you don't want to like hand it to you. Like if Casio gave you a black belt and was like, you're one of the best guys in the school, so we're going to give you, you'd be like, oh man, kind of ruined it, man. Like I thought I thought you had this other criteria. It's like, oh, I changed my mind. You're like, oh, wait, no, man. Like really? Like, no, I wanted to earn it the way that you said, originally that I had to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing is true with money. Like, yeah, it would be cool if someone handed you some money, but figuring out a way to earn it yourself is even more amazing. Like that journey of figuring that out, and then just understanding that you don't have to really ever have any concern about money ever again, because you know that you have a bunch of different ways you can figure out how to make it. Like it feels like a superpower in some weird way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think, when people are kind of going through their day to day and they're thinking about wanting to be this person or that person, or wanting to strive to be more like that person, I think they should ask themselves why. What's the reason why? Like, what do you believe that will do for you? And any answer will do, but you should have an answer. You should have some sort of answer on that.
And then you might actually come to the conclusion that what you felt there was just an emotion, and you don't really actually value that. Because when you ask yourself why, and you can't write down any legitimate reason why you actually want that, like it's not gonna, like, then you'll realize, so I was feeling this way for nothing. Or you'll figure out why you really do want it, and that'll drive you even more.
I remember talking to my son about his grades, and he had like D's and F's. And I said, I think that you're smarter than like a D and an F. And I said, what grade do you think you can get? And I said, what grade, if you can pick any grade, would you like the teacher to give to you? And he was like, an A. I said, okay, well, what if the A meant that even though they handed it to you, what if the A meant that you couldn't hang out with your friends as much as you'd like? You couldn't play the video games that you like. I was like, would you still want an A? And he's like, no. I was like, well, okay, well, what would you want? He's like, probably like a B or a C. I was like, get your shit together and get a B or a C and still play your video games, still hang out with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what we're talking about right here. Like, if you're aiming to be The Rock, well, there might be so many things that are compromised in that path. Like, do you know how many things The Rock had to he had to go through a lot of bullshit to be who he is, and he still has to go through. I mean, it must be like impossible to be that guy. Meanwhile, everybody wants to be that guy, but they don't know what all that entails. I remember Mike Tyson talking about, he's like, people think they want to be me. He's like, this is fucked. He's like, I wake up at 3:30 every morning and I run for like 2 hours. It's like, you don't want anything to do with this life that I have. And then plus he was like, he was raised under really weird circumstances. He was abused. I mean, it sounds like his life was very difficult, even with his own fighting himself all the time. I mean, it sounds like that was the hardest opponent he's ever had to deal with is his own like kind of internal battle. So I think ask yourself, who you want to be like and what you want to be like, but also why. And then I also think that you have examples probably a lot closer to you than you think. Just like I did in my household, where I always thought it was about like Bo Jackson and people like that. My dad was a great role model. I think your mother seemed like...
I still haven't been able to match my mom's work ethic. It pisses me off.
You're never going to catch up to her.
Dang, man.
Never going to catch up to her. Dude, you buy her something nice for her birthday or what?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah. She loves using... You know what the Vitamix is?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, she's been using the same Vitamix since I was like freaking like 15.
She must have been pumped.
Yeah, she liked it.
That's great.
She liked it.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, Andrew.
Hey.
You want to get us out of here?
I can. Yeah, I can do that. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Everyone in the live chat, you guys are fucking awesome. Appreciate you guys being here, especially the 25 of you that hit like while we were live. So there should have been more, but we'll accept what we can get.
Probably just Coach House.
Oh, yeah, him and his... Well, maybe not
Coach
his
House,
wife.
admit to your sin, man. Admit to what I know you did it.
Yeah, I think we have like one thumbs down.
I
Maybe
know
that was,
you did it.
That was Mrs. Coach House.
You know what I'm talking about, man.
Oh.
You did it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Nsima. drinklmnt.com/power project. Gonna challenge you to get 4 boxes of the watermelon salt because it's
so
that damn good. Links down in the YouTube description as well as the podcast show notes.
Don't sleep on the chocolate.
Okay, yeah.
chocolate's-
Don't sleep on it.
I put the chocolate in my protein shakes a lot, and I
Yeah.
also throw it in my coffee. It's amazing.
It is really good. I will have it as a little treat after dinner sometimes. Now I'm definitely gonna have a protein shake.
I'm definitely
tonight.
gonna make a protein shake when I get home too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, links down for that in the YouTube description and podcast show notes. Please make sure you follow the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project on Instagram, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. My Instagram and Twitter is at I am Andrew Z. And again, along with all the links for everything we're about to say right now and just said is all down in the YouTube description and podcast show notes. And Nsima, where are you at?
At Nsima, Inyang on Instagram, YouTube, Clubhouse, TikTok, Nsima Inyang on Twitter. Don't forget, rate and review us on Apple.
Yes.
We rolling. We
And
moving forward.
the newsletter. Sorry, I keep
yeah.
forgetting. We just sent out a fresh new issue of the newsletter. Gave you a cool formula on how to find your macros and how to find your daily intake of calories. And hopefully you guys can hang out and party with us as we shred down to the 4th of July. You guys have like 60 something days at this point. But yeah, there's some information from Mark in there regarding how you guys can join in on that experience.
Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.